I've got an amazing guy whose name is Coach Karl. And Coach Karl, he is a transformational coach. Out of being a transformational coach, you might be thinking, what is a transformational coach? But here's the thing, Coach Karl plays in the property space. So he's an investor in property. He's been employed full time. I've known him for more than about 5 years or so. And out of that, besides being working for an employer, he went through a retrenchment process. And as a transformational coach, he had to carry himself through that. Out of that, I want to say this. If you believe that your life needs a little bit more from where you are right now, I suggest you need to plug into this video here and just understand the journey of a transformational coach. And above that, my question to you is, are you having more of who you are? Do you want more of who you are? And if the answer is yes, then you want to listen to this and you want to reach out to Coach Karl, and he can help you out to be more of who you are. Boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? Welcome. It is another day where I bring you another successful friend of M5. So you are watching M5 Successful Friends, and with me in the hot seat of being successful in the property space and beyond is none other than Karl. And Karl, how's it going? Should I be referring to you as Coach Karl, or should I just refer you as to Karl?
I think Coach Karl is fine. Coach Karl is fine.
How are you doing, brother? And welcome to M5 Successful Friends show. And who is Karl?
I'm awesome. Thank you for welcoming me to this platform. I'm very glad for the opportunity that you've actually given me to share my story or parts of my story with the community. Hopefully, it would inspire and educate others who are along different phases of their journey, investment journey, life journey, whatever, you know. Back to the question, who is Karl? Wow. I think there are many ways of answering that question, but let me just say, Coach Karl is a husband, he's a father. I mean, family is something that is very, very important to me. So I thought it's important for me to mention that. Some of the things I'm truly passionate about, it's really connecting with people, meeting people, learning about people, traveling, learning about other cultures, helping people to fully become, you know, the best version of themselves, you know, and I am deeply motivated by that, actually. And I think all of that has gotten me to to become a coach, a transformational coach, and also to get involved in other entrepreneurial activities and businesses that I'm involved with, and as well to pursue a career in corporate. So coaching, getting involved in entrepreneurship and corporate, for me, those are vehicles to really enable me to do what I'm truly passionate and have a deep desire to do and to achieve. I hope that sort of answered your question. I mean, like I said, there are many ways of answering that question, but I hope I've done justice to it.
Yeah. I know I've known you for what, maybe around about 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And in these 5 years that I've known you, I think our first kind of like interaction, I remember very well, your wife was my boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When I used to work at the bank, and they'd always spoken about Carlson, and I didn't know who he was, or should I say, I didn't connect you and my boss.
Oh, okay.
and we were talking and we were exchanging notes, and then someone says to me, "Oh, I saw you walking with Irene's husband," and I said, "Who?" And they said, arranged husband. I said, no. Then they said, you don't know that Carlson is married to Irene. I said, which Irene? So I was almost in defensive mode to say, no, don't put these two people together. They are not. And I just loved the way that you have progressed in your life journey to transition from being employed and then being an entrepreneur helping other people. And then also, I mean, we had many days that would talk about your property journey and what you're doing. What do you do in the property space?
Yeah, so as far as property for us is concerned, I must say that property for us is a vehicle. We're doing it out of a motivation to obviously have additional sources of income. That's truly important. But I think secondly for us is actually a vehicle to how can I put it? It's a vehicle for us to grow personally. I think that has been one of the benefits of the journey. I kind of anticipated that. And also it's been a vehicle to basically grow our entrepreneurial capabilities. It's giving us that opportunity. What do? We run a property business at the moment with a portfolio of income generating properties. Thank God. It's not always been like that, but I think I can say that now. But a portfolio of income generating properties. And I think our focus, our strategy is really around buy to let. So we buy, we scale, and we let to tenants. How we got there, interestingly, I mean, we had a residential property, and with a desire to generate additional sources of income, we decided to build a cottage at the back, and that was a very exciting experience. And we thought, why don't we scale it up? So getting into the property business full scale was motivated by the desire to scale up and get the full benefit of this journey, actually. Yeah.
Carson, I almost want to speak to the fact, I'm a bit biased here because I know you and I know your wife, and your wife is an extremely self-driven person, and some days the things that she does as an individual, I'll be like, wow, how is she doing this? And being married to such a driven person, especially when you're talking about things of finances, things that you need to do for your family, I almost think that it is by default that her drive is the same as whether she's at work or she's at home. And I feel pity for guys who are married to women that have such kind of power, because I think that maybe at home she's also a person who drives like that. And I almost want to speak to your first project where you're talking about you're building some cottages, and there you are. And knowing your wife is a self-driven person, who was the project manager on there? Was it you or was it her?
I think I should be humble enough to say I really had no involvement in that project.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe just helping to contribute and provide the finances for the project.
Right.
But I think she ran the project end to end. I mean, I must say as well that I think one of the things that got her interested in property beyond seeing it as a source of additional income and helping to build our entrepreneurial capability is that she's very creative. I mean, she likes to see things actually come to life, so extending the residential property sort of fed that desire to see things come to life. So she took it on, put the plan together, built a team, and actually made it happen. So yeah, I think I would humbly say that I really took no part in that project.
So Carlson, I think, you know, I actually didn't know the dynamics of that project, but I almost want to come back to you with a question to say, when you're married to such kind of a person, and especially from a man perspective, it could be intimidating because you got a stronger woman in the house. So you feel like the men, you know, you're not taking the role. And you have taught me something different, knowing your wife on the other side of the world. You are totally comfortable with your wife taking in a project like this one, and you know she's doing it for your family and things like that. And you are helping in a different manner, but she's taking control and taking stride in what she loves doing best. And you're comfortable with it, right? But I've also seen you guys over and above that, going to school, learning together. But so I suppose what I'm trying to say here is that I think you understand your space, and you understand your spouse's space, and you let her to be free to go and do things that enhances both your guys' life. But for some other men, this could be an intimidation that can actually wreck a marriage. Now, as a transformational person, someone who coaches other people, how does one do that? Because I'm seeing a lot of women these days, Coach Carlson, people who are coming in, they get married, and at the moment, there's a lot of female power around us. And I think for some men, if they're not really strong, they actually feel like life is, they're being diluted. So they are nothing anymore because the woman is becoming stronger. The society is putting them stronger. The workplace is putting them to be stronger. And also women themselves, they're demonstrating themselves to be strong, be it in the workplace or otherwise. In my view, they've always been strong. We just didn't put them on the same pedestal. If I look in when I was raised up, there was no visible men. It was just women that were doing amazing things around me. But speaking to a person who's getting married or who's finding themselves in that situation, with you who has taken comfort in it, you're all right with it. You are thriving in it. How would you say is kind of like your steps to being comfortable with it or to live with it and do life together still?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I think that's a very important question. I said earlier when you asked me the question, who am I said part of what drives me, part of what I'm truly passionate about is to see people grow, see people become the best version of themselves, see people fulfill and enjoy this journey of life at the individual level. I love that. And whatever I can do to contribute to that, I do it. In fact, I would go further to say, I am now understanding with the benefit of hindsight that that is part of my calling. That is part of my mandate. In fact, that is part of the reason why I've been given this opportunity of life. So at the individual level, that's how I see it. Now, collectively, bringing two people together, there must be a reason for two people coming together. So foundationally for me, I believe that marriage is a partnership, and there has to be a reason for that partnership. And once the two of you are very clear as to why you are together, and what each person contributes towards that, it only, you know, it's not then rocket science to see that as you grow and develop individually and collectively, it is for the benefit of that partnership.
Right.
And so you are not competing. You are collaborating, but there's a reason for the collaboration.
Yeah.
It's not ad hoc. It's not what's the word I'm looking for? It is for the benefit of, let me call it a project. It's for the benefit of this family. It's for the benefit of the two of you. It's for the benefit of this partnership that you have agreed, to get together into and to grow it. So one person growing and the other not growing doesn't serve the partnership. Both of you growing, collaborating and doing things together serves the partnership better.
Come on.
It's not rocket science when you see it that way. And once you see it that way, then, oh my God, all you then need to do is to grow, support, and help each other. But I must say that life doesn't happen by chance. Things that we get into, institutions that we get into, marriage, for example, you must have a foundational belief about it. And for me, part of my foundational belief about marriage is that it's something that was actually created by God. And there is kind of like a manual for it. So if you come from that premise, then you then say that manual almost becomes my reference point. But of course, people approach it differently. But I think for me, that's the path that I took, and it has made it less difficult for me. I say less difficult consciously, because even when you get to that point, it doesn't still make it a bed of roses. It's still very challenging, but I think it just makes it less challenging.
Amazing stuff. Yeah. I almost want to take you into a space, Carlson, if you allow me. I think there was a point when we were talking about, at one point, I think it was about 3 years ago, if not, it was 4. And you asked me the question, to say, TJ, why are you buying all these properties? And I was still employed at the time. And I said to you, I think that retrenchment will come. And I don't want to live another life and another experience of a retrenchment, because I've been retrenched before. So, but I was not prepared at that time. And both you and I, we were working for the same employer at the time. And I had seen how much we had scaled up in terms of the teams that have come through. And my knowledge of business is that anything that goes up at some point, it's going to come down. And if it is down, at some point, it's going to go up. That's just life. And we journeyed on, and I remember I kind of like resigned on a Thursday or something like that, and then the Monday they announced that they were going to do retrenchments. And a week after that, me and you were having a conversation, and I was saying to you, so what are you going to do? Will you take the retrenchment, or do you think you're going to leave it up? Subconsciously, I could see that you were prepared for either way. But I want to ask you the question, why were you confident to move on? Because for a lot of people, during a retrenchment process, whether they received a letter or they haven't received a letter, it's an emotional wreck. And I want you to answer that question, but I also then want us to talk to the point of, as a coach, how do you help, as a transformational coach, how do you help people that are in that space? Because that's a life event that can be catastrophic, depending on how you're seeing it, and it can be damaging, again, depending on how you're seeing it, because not many people are highly dependent on their job. And I think at this time, if I knew very well, recall, I think between you and your wife, I think you had about 4 or 5 properties already that were going, and all of them were cash flowing. But what gave you the confidence of answering the way you answered me. I said, TJ, if they resign me, I'm okay. I'm going to go home. What had you set up? Or what was I not seeing? Because I was stressing out at that time for many people, even though I had resigned.
I mean, I think I was stressing out as well.
Sure.
But life goes on. I must say, to answer your question, I've been in corporate for a while, and I think my understanding so far tells me exactly like you said, that things go up and down. I mean, that's just the normal business cycle. But I think I'd got into a point where we set ourselves off a journey, and the journey of financial freedom.
Right. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by financial freedom?
Financial freedom for us then and even now is really just getting to a place where we can comfortably live our choosing lifestyle.
Okay.
And do the things that we truly desire to do. And invest our time the way we desire to, and do the things that we actually want to do. And now, the reality of the world that we live in is that finances are critically important. I mean, some people say that the money doesn't bring happiness, neither does poverty.
I think money brings happiness, man. It brings you
exactly
choices bring you happiness.
Exactly. That's why I said neither does poverty. I'll prefer to have money and unhappy than to be unhappy while being broke. So the importance of money, something we had decided on a long time ago, that is very important to actually have access to money. And so we decided to take a portfolio view to that, which means looking at the different levers out there, or the different assets, because we had gotten to understand that financial freedom really is built around assets, acquiring cash flowing assets, you know. So we started the journey to exactly start doing that, looking at different assets, and trying as much as we could, you know, to invest in cash flowing assets. Meaning that, you know, you get to a point where somehow you can sustain yourself financially while being out of full-time employment. Right. And that gives you a certain level of comfort, a certain level of peace, I would say, because you know that things are not going to completely fall apart in case you lose your job. So that's the first part, is the fact that one started that journey some time back and still on the journey. And I knew that, you know, in case that happened, whatever I get from there would be used to try and acquire more assets. It will actually, you know, help to pick in that journey for us. The second part, how do you help someone who is in a space like that?
Yeah.
Like I said, life actually goes on, but I think is to allow the person to just go through the experience and to feel whatever they are feeling. Don't deny them the feeling or the experience, because there are many teachable moments just going through an experience like that. But then going forward, you know, deciding what are you going to do about it. B, what are you going to do to ensure that A, you don't get into a situation like that in the future, or B, if you do, what is going to be the outcome, or is the outcome going to be different?
Sure.
Yeah. So it's really just that, and there are many people who have gone through an experience like that, and I'm very careful not to call it a bad experience, because often when you are going through it, you don't know enough to call it a bad experience. Right. Or sometimes you call it a bad experience, but with the benefit of hindsight, you was like, oh my God, I needed to go through that. You know, so there are many people who have gone through an experience like that. They did not just go through the experience, they actually grew through the experience. And they've come out on the other side, you know, more empowered, more equipped, and haven't made better decisions and follow through on their decisions to be in a better space, and are actually more in control of their finances, and of their life journey.
Yeah, I like that because, and the reason why I'm asking you this question, Carlson, is because we're shooting this in the middle of the pandemic of COVID. We are exactly about a year into the in the COVID pandemic. There's lots of people that have been retrenched, and there could be one or two people watching that now, and they're saying, my life is gone. I don't know what to do now, because they don't have any finances that's coming through from an employer, and they were dependent on that. And there's some other people that are actually learning the whole process of, actually, I need to find this financial freedom that you're talking about. I think this season here, I do have a job, but what if it comes again? What can I do? And having conversations with people like you who have lived it. And this is what I love about M5 Successful Friends, is that we don't just talk to people who are thinking of doing it, who are maybe going through the motions of wanting to do it. I really look out for people that are doing it, that are living the experience. And we can talk from experience and with confidence. And what we're talking about here is anyone can literally take that, copy, paste it, and run with it and be successful. I want to come back to your real estate investing. Your strategy is to buy properties and then you rent them out. Do you have a specific area that you focus in? And if so, why?
Yeah, so there are specific areas. I mean, in terms of our strategy, there are specific areas that we actually, in terms of our investment strategy, there are specific areas that we are currently focusing on at the moment.
Yeah.
And that area is actually around, I mean, I call it Bezvalley.
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah.
Just immediately outside of the CBD.
Right. Right.
I think that area has been key for us. We're now starting to move further out, but I think we started from there, and the focus has really been in that particular area. And the main reason for that is because the returns are higher.
Okay.
I mean, if I compare to having colleagues in the community, the returns there are actually quite good.
Sure. So I've been to Bezvalley before, Bezvalley Valley. It's not my favorite place for me. I have chased one or two deals there, and I couldn't get it to work. But you try to talk about your place that you invest. A lot of people, I ask them, so where you investing in? And they give me strategies. In and around a city, I'm 5 kilometers away from it. But you have given us a specific place. And I almost want to speak to this place here, because for me, I've done some extensive research around Bezvalley. So number one, it actually ticks a lot of my boxes in terms of investment strategy. So number one, it's an old neighborhood, right? And number two, for me, it is a forgotten neighborhood, so to speak. And then number three, you also have old properties that have big living spaces. And that gives you the ability to kind of like chop change stuff. It's also well known for properties that are called semis. So you're buying one property, but you're actually buying two of them, right? And it is the home of Nando's.
Correct.
Nando's head office is in Bezvalley. I'm a big fan of Nando's. So if you didn't know, that's where Nando's is. And over and above that, you're not far away from the activity of the CBD. I think you're one taxi away or you're one bus away.
Correct.
Now, those are my boxes of an investment strategy, but I haven't just been lucky with Bezvalley. and I haven't, for that reason, then I've sort of like run away from it. But it really fits all my investment strategy. Why do you invest in Bezvalley?
It's exactly for the reasons that you've mentioned. I think it basically, when we started, we had a checklist, obviously based on our investment strategy.
Yeah.
I think the points that you've mentioned are exactly part of the checklist that we had. It's immediately outside of the CBD. It's one of the Johannesburg CBD. It's a one bus stop away from the CBD. And if we look at, I think the Johannesburg municipality at the moment has got a Johannesburg CBD. I'm forgetting the name of the program, revitalization program, kind of. So I think there's a plan to really
called the Freedom Corridor.
Freedom Corridor, yeah. So
yeah.
that's already been set in motion, and it's very easy to see how that is going to impact, outlying or surrounding areas
right.
of the CBD. And the properties that you have there, like you put it, you buy one property, but you've got 2 semis and cottages at the back.
Right. Well, I've forgotten the part of the
yes.
cottages as well.
Yes, definitely. So each semi has got a cottage at the back.
Right.
Actually, and it's an area where I think the demand is very, very high. For many people who live and work around the CBD, the cost of transportation living in Bezvalley is actually quite low. And I think the cost of living there as well is low. So the demand for rental accommodation is very, very high in that area. And even when you decide to sell the property, I think there are always a long queue of buyers who are knocking,
really
wanting to buy a property. So I think it's an awesome place to invest, especially for first-time buyers, I would say, because in fact when we started, the cost of the properties were quite low actually. I mean, they're shooting up now because I think many people are now waking up to to the fact that that area has been like a sleeping giant. So that is shooting up the price of the properties. But when we got into it, I think pretty much it was really, really affordable. Really affordable. Yeah.
Coach Carlson, you've been buying properties. We now understand why exactly you do it. You've been doing it way before you were retrenched. By the way, did you get retrenched or you just left? How did that go?
I left.
You left. Okay, good. Yeah. So you left and they gave you a nice handsome package and you put it more into your property journey. And the question that I want to ask you, Carlson, is I meet a lot of immigrants coming into the country, whether they've been here for the last 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. And they always ask me the question, how do you buy property? I'm a foreigner. And me and you, we are both immigrants into this country. If you've been here, what, 25 years, 30 now?
Oh my God, 20.
20, right. So me and you, we very much alike in terms of our time that we've spent in the country. And you're buying property, you and your wife. And I buy properties as well. And what do you think are the challenges for an immigrant that you might have personally faced in terms of buying properties? Because I get that question every second day, I think. There's someone who's telling me, I can't buy a property because I'm an immigrant. Well, the exact word is, I'm a foreigner, I can't buy properties. And I find that hard to understand or to even digest. What's your views around that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't find it hard to understand because I think the challenges are there, definitely. Especially if you want to get finance from the bank, it's really challenging. but I think there's no challenge if you are able to buy cash. So one of the things I say to people is the best way to work around that at the moment. If A, you are not a local, and B, you don't have access to bank finance, which many people don't. I mean, even if documentation is not a problem, it's not easy to qualify for it. Is to collaborate, is to get together. I mean, this is something that I think our parents have been doing forever. I mean, getting together, pulling resources together, and using the resources to actually, grow themselves one person at a time or collectively together. Is most of us exist and operate in communities. Is to find people that people with whom you share the same passion of growing yourself financially and otherwise, and B, people that you can work together, do things together, because being in the same community does not mean that you can work with everyone.
Yeah.
And C, people that are willing to walk the journey, because it's a journey. And once you do that, you can get together, put resources together, and buy property cash, or even be able to fund 60, 70, 80% of the property cash. I mean, once you get to that point, it becomes, I know it becomes easier to get funding from the bank. But yeah, I mean, getting funding from especially the traditional banks is getting even more difficult, especially given the current economic challenges. So it's not only immigrants, even locals face the same challenge.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to start, because once you start, you buy the first property cash as an individual or as a collective, you start building a track record, start building a portfolio. I mean, banks are businesses. Once they can figure out how to partner with you and also benefit financially in the process as part of your journey, they'll partner with you. That's how I see it.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. Carlson, I speaking of the point of collaborating, I've been helping now a group of guys from Zambia, I think it is, and they came into the country. Some of them, they came through via the mining and things like that, and they've been around for a while. And I think at some point they wanted to go back home and do something with their money back at home. And by the time I met up with them, this is almost like a year and a half ago, they had collaborated and put round about 12 million rand together. So when I met them, my mind was blown. Like, you guys got 12 million rand. Do you know what you can do with that?
Wow.
But here's the thing. They came together, but there was no leader. They've been contributing together for the last year and a half. And out of that, all of them, they do what they do. They are service-oriented business. So one runs a company that does cleaning services. Another one does gardening, and all sorts of services that we can think about. But none of them have always been thinking about building assets. So they don't know it. Some of them, they don't even have houses for their own. And they've got this 12 million rand sitting in their bank account. The first thing I asked them was that, what interest? And they had no idea. And I asked, so what kind of an investment is your money in? And it was in a savings account. So I think, and this is where I almost want to talk about, I've seen it with you. I know that you are in a group. Your wife, I know she's also in a group. But you are also educating yourselves. And you go back to the groups. And now you start giving a little bit more in your groups other than just participating to give money. And I almost want us to have a short conversation about that, Carlson, in terms of how has it helped you going to get education whilst you belong in a group, and potentially, let's just say you were in the same group now with this 12 million that's sitting in. It's a group of men and there's no leader. So what can we do now with this 12 million? and they are not the only group. I've met several other groups that are like that as well.
Yeah, we're talking about the importance of education, right? Super important. I mean, like I said earlier, I am an eternal student.
Yeah.
I'm always learning, always growing, and of course, I'm not doing it haphazardly or ad hocly. I'm very strategic about what I learn and how I learn, because I have to be learning for a purpose, right? Financial education is very important for me. When I started the journey of financial freedom, I had to start learning and educating myself. When we got into property, we also decided to get educated. Invested quite a chunk of money in getting education in investing, in property and in other areas connected to property as well. And what that has also done is to give us access to a network and a community that is super important, as well as part of this journey. So education is very, very important. Look, you can only operate, you can hardly operate beyond your level of knowledge. It's very hard, it's very difficult.
Yeah. I really like what you just said. That's
yes. Good. Yes. So having an understand, look, there's a Chinese saying that what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand.
Okay.
So part of the education is not just sitting in the class, getting information. Part of the education is actually doing. So you do, you learn, you do, you learn, you get better. So being in a group like that, it makes it a lot easier if all of you have some level of education, or even if you don't, start. And then while you start, make the decision to actually get educated, because that is a very important determinant of success. I mean, it has been for us and many other members in the community, and yourself. I'm sure I know as well. It's been critical to your success, right?
Yeah.
So
I look, the stuff that I do. If I look back in my life and I start asking myself, why wasn't I just open to new information? Because I think we overcomplicate it and say, get educated. But I think the basis of it for me is just being open to new information, to stuff that you don't know, right? And that just being open to new people that you don't know and learn. And when you start learning, I like that Chinese proverb that I'm gonna steal it from you, man. You just do, because the moment you start doing, you start walking on water, and all of a sudden
indeed, it's super important to actually get educated, to get information that you could just getting more information. Look, I think one of my core principles, core beliefs, is that people who have succeeded in their different endeavors, they learned along the way,
right?
And I can also learn and become better.
Awesome.
And part of that education is also getting guidance. There's a saying that, for example, let me make it practical. The most effective way to get to Pretoria is to seek guidance from one who has been there and is either on his way back or already back from Pretoria.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they can hold your hand and quicken the journey for you.
Right.
So getting education is very, very important.
Awesome stuff. Carson, it's been great hanging out with you today. In conclusion, I just want to say to you, you are the first person that I spoke to who had been infected with COVID. And how are you feeling now?
Awesome. I think, like I said to you, I did say to you when I was still I'm not fully recovered, that I don't know enough to call it a bad experience.
Yeah.
And I would stick to that. And I said as well that for me, it was about really trying to understand and to find out what is the mandate, or what is the reason for this second chance? Because I call it a second chance. I mean, we know the stats, right? I mean, there are many people who were sick and were not privileged to survive. And even for those who have survived, I mean, often the stats don't tell us what they actually go through to come out on the other side. So at the moment, for me, I am grateful. I think I'm so filled with gratitude. I don't take anything for granted. I'm really trying to make sure that that for which I've been given the second chance is indeed fulfilled. So that when I look back, and I think that's a second level of success for me. When I'm actually on my last mile on this journey of life, I'll look back and say, indeed, I gave it my best. Indeed, I did that which I was actually called upon and mandated to do. So that's how I'm feeling right now. Just a deep sense of gratitude, and really ready to serve more, to serve human beings more, to serve humanity more, to serve the world more, and to give more of myself than I've ever actually given.
In your business of being a coach for transformation, who are your typical people that need help from you? So I'm listening out there. How do I know that I need to have a coach like you?
That's a very good question. If you have a deep sense in yourself that you can be more,
right?
You can do more, and you can have more. Look, I think I believe that human beings have got different components. You've got a soul. You are a spirit. You've got a soul, and you've got a body. And often you get a sense of where you are playing and whether or not you should be playing a better game, whether or not you should be doing more. Yeah, you get told, you get reminded often. I mean, often life is so hectic, we don't allow ourselves, to listen to these messages and take action on them. So when you get to the point where you feel like, what, I can be more, I should be doing more than what I'm doing. I should actually be a better person. I should be achieving more. I should have more than I currently have. Then you know that you need you need to see Coach Karl.
That's deep, man. I think people don't underestimate the value of coaches in life. Someone said to me the other day, "So are you no longer with your coach?" So I said, "Which one? Which coach?"
Good question.
and they said, "Oh, so how many coaches do you have?" And I said, "I have different coaches for anywhere in my life where I feel I need help on." And we drum on around mentoring and coaching in property. That's a skill that you're getting in property, but that's not a life skill. You're a coach for life and for transforming you from level bottom zero to where you think you can get more. And I think more for me is just to tap into the world where I thought I could be, but I can actually reach more than that.
Yeah.
So for a person like you, I'm quite keen to be reaching out to people like you. By the way, if you are watching and you are wanting to reach out to Coach Karl, his details are in the comments below. So check in the comments below for his details, and you can check out Coach Karl, and he can help you to be a little bit more. Coach Karl, thanks a lot for being here, and
thank you.
Keep fit.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for the opportunity you've actually given me to share aspects of my story with the community, and I'm hoping that people will be inspired and educated and would be motivated, to actually take action, do something,
and be more.
And be more.